would you mind introducing yourself?
I'd be glad to. My name is Dean Strickland, better known as Kaisha Strickland's grandpa, and I'm glad to do this interview.
When were you born?
I was born in 1941, August 7th, in Talladega, Alabama. And yes, it was interesting being born in the South.
What was it like in Talladega? What was there racism, segregation?
It was very much segregated. The restaurants in town were segregated. If they allowed black people to participate in the restaurant at all, it was usually in the back door and kind of a side place, never in the front door, and they would never enter into where the white people were.
Sure, yeah. What did segregation and racism look like? Was it strong? Maybe not so strong?
It was very strong. As a matter of fact, there were drinking fountains for the white people only, and I think it would say white only. A little sign on the drinking fountain, and of course the restrooms were also segregated. It was very much segregated between white people and black people. It was not a comfortable thing for me as a kid. I never liked it. I never understood it. It was just kind of a strange thing for me.
Sure. Were there any other places that were segregated besides drinking fountains and restaurants?
Yeah, the schools. Schools were very much segregated at that time. And the churches, usually black people pretty much went to their own churches, and the white people went to theirs. And at that time, there wasn't any mixture at all. And,
always separated.
It's unfortunate.
So you really disagreed with the segregation and racism. You did not like it. What did your family think of it?
Well, my mother and father, I never heard a prejudice word come from their mouth. And I was always proud of them in later years for that, because it was
continued.
I was always very proud of my mom and dad, that they never, even though they were born in the deep South, they were born in 1914, both of them, never really once that did they ever say that they were prejudiced in any way, nor did they use any slang language or anything like that. And I was always extremely proud of them for, you might say, setting the standard for us kids. And although there was plenty of influences around. My dad and his brothers were asked to join the Ku Klux Klan, and my dad and his brothers would have nothing to do with that nonsense. So, all in all, in our household, I was never spoke to about black people being even lower class in any way, or less than the whites, or anything like that. So I was always extremely proud of them, and proud that my dad and his brothers refused to be part of a terrible organization like the Ku Klux Klan. So
Yeah, absolutely. That's really great that they stood up for themselves and just decided to say no.
yeah.
And I have one more question for you. Was there anyone else outside of your family that lived in your house that was maybe prejudiced to the segregation going on in where you lived here?
Not directly in our household, but or I should say directly in our family. We back in those days, whenever they got together, and the guys always mingled together, and the ladies would do the same, but in a different part of the house. And but I often heard stories that I put out of my mind. I can't really remember any specific stories about what maybe some of my uncles would say about how they felt about black people, and of course some of them would use the N-word, which we were never allowed to use, and it never really occurred to us to use that word, because through our church and through our upbringing, we just it didn't ever become part of our vocabulary. So, but there was plenty of that terrible language and degrading language and all that around. It just was never part of our immediate family.
Sure.
And I'm very proud to say that.
That's great. Thank you so much for doing this interview. Thank you for taking the time to do that.
You're welcome.